Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday, November 1st City Council business agenda. I will entertain a motion for our minutes. Very good. A pledge of allegiance and invocation has in your agenda Councilwoman Dotley, but she is not with us this evening. And so Councilman Henderson will fill in her space. Sir.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Reading from the Word, 1 Peter 3, verse 8. Finally, all of you be of one mind, having compassion for one another. Love as brothers, be tenderhearted, and be courteous. Would you bow with me in prayer? God, we just pray tonight that you would create in us a spirit of unity, and may we all have compassion for each other. Amen.
Thank you, Councilman. We do have no special presentations this. Did we already do the minutes?
Yeah.
All right. Thought we did. All right. Anxious to get started today. That's okay. Ordinances on final reading, planning item A. Madam Clerk, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance so as to rezone an unaddressed property located in the 1000 block of East 10th Street from URD2 residential detached zone to URM3 residential multi-unit zone subject to certain conditions.
I have a motion to approve. Councilwoman Knoll? All right, we do have a second to that motion. This is the final read for this item. Questions or comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Ordinances on first reading, equity and community engagement. Madam Clerk, item A, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 2 by repealing ordinance number 11767, sections 2711 through 2716, and substituting a new Article 12 in lieu thereof, creating the Department of Equity and Community Engagement.
I have a motion to approve. I have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item carries. Under resolutions, Madam Clerk, economic development without objection from council, items A through D. On item D, will you please read alternate version 2? And without objection from council, we'll take those as a package, please.
Item A, a resolution authorizing the mayor his designee to enter into a third agreement to exercise option to renew with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education in substantially the form attached for the use of tax parcel number 168IC032 for the continued operation of the Cedar Hill Head Start Early Head Start program at 4701 Divine Avenue for an additional term of December 31, 2023 for the amount of $1 per term. Item B, a resolution authorizing the mayor his designee to enter into a third agreement to exercise the option to renew with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education in substantially the form attached for the use of tax parcel number 136LM002, 136LM005, and 136LM006 for the continued operation of the Avondale Head Start Early Head Start program 2302 Accord Street for an additional term of 1 year through December 31, 2023 for the amount of $1 per term. Item C, a resolution authorizing the mayor, his designee, to enter into a third agreement to exercise option to renew with the Hamilton County, Tennessee Board of Education in substantially the form attached for the use of a portion of tax parcel number 066MD014 for the continued operation of the Daisy Head Start Early Head Start program at 9517 West Ridge Trail Road in Saudi Daisy, Tennessee, for an additional term of 1 year through December 31, 2023, for the amount of $1 per term. Item D, alternate version 2, a resolution amending and adopting tax income and financing policies and procedures, a copy of which is substantially attached here to and made a part hereof by reference.
Have a motion to approve. I do have a second to that motion. All those in questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And that is on item D, just for the alternate version 2. Thank you. Under community development, Madam Clerk, item E, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Community Development to accept an award of American Rescue Plan funds to finance a home repair program in partnership with internal city departments, established nonprofit organizations, and other stakeholders in accordance with the goals and objectives as stated in the grant application. And home repair program will be administered internally by the Neighborhood Services Division in the amount of $500,000.
Have a motion to approve. I do hear a second to that motion. Questions? Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item E carries. Madam Clerk, under IT, item F, please.
A resolution authorizing the Department of Technology Services to accept the FY20 Transportation and Congestion Management Technologies Deployment ATCMTD Grant Award from the U.S. Department of Transportation's Federal Highway Administration, FHWA, for an end-to-end decision support system for integrated smart electric grid and transportation system management project for an amount not to exceed $4,577,721.
Have a motion to approve. I have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item F carries. Parks and Outdoors, Madam Clerk, item G, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Parks and Outdoors to enter into an agreement with Reagan Smith and Associates, Inc., RSA, for professional services related to contract number 022001 Chattanooga Skate Park for an amount not to exceed $232,500.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item G carries. Madam Clerk, planning H and I will take as a package without objection from council, please.
Item H, a resolution adopting West Side Evolves, a plan establishing a roadmap for equitable, sustainable, and holistic revitalization of the community and the families who live there. Item I, a resolution authorizing the mayor, his designee, to enter into an interlocal agreement with the Chattanooga Housing Authority for the design and construction of the renovated James A. Henry building necessary to the West Side Evolves plan for an amount not to exceed $1 million.
Have a motion to approve. Have a second to that motion. Several seconds. Thank you. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Items H and I carry. That concludes our ordinances and resolutions for the 5 purchases and sole source to report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, five purchases. The first is from the Street Maintenance Division of Public Works, request to increase contract with TT Wilson Company for masonry materials to cover current and future projects before the renewal in June of '23. The increase is $65,000 for a new annual amount not to exceed $105,250. Also from Street Maintenance, request to increase contract with CWS Chattanooga Hauling for front loader and refuse pickup services to cover pickups added during the contract period. The increase is $40,000 for a new annual amount not to exceed $250,000. Third, from the Fleet Management Division of Public Works, request to increase contract with Enterprise for long-term vehicle leasing to convert department replacement vehicles to lease. The increase is $110,000 for a new annual amount not to exceed $300,000. Next, from the Mayor's Office, new blanket contract for an essential community services hotline. 3 proposals were received and the award goes to United Way of Greater Chattanooga. This is a 1-year contract with an amount to exceed $118,000. And lastly, from Public Works, the one-time purchase of a light structure system for Frost Stadium. This procurement utilizes source of contract 071619 MSL. The vendor is Musco Sports Lighting LLC, and the amount is $266,299.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Have a motion to approve our purchases for this evening with several seconds. Thank you. Questions or comments on purchases? We did receive these last week and an opportunity today to ask questions at our 3:30 agenda session. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Purchases are approved.
Thank you. And then we have one RFP format recommended for approval. We are requesting approval to issue the RFP, not approval to awarding contracts at this time. The Chattanooga Police Department is seeking to deploy a modern records management system to serve as the foundation for CPD operations, ensuring accurate and timely administration of relevant records. Chattanooga. Approach and experience are more important. Therefore, an RFP is required.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Chair will entertain a motion for approval of an RFP this evening. I do have a motion to approve with a second. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor of the RFP say aye. Opposed? RFP is granted.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now moving into committee reports. Councilman Henderson, start with your end.
And I do have a report
Yes, sir.
that I'd like to share with you. We did have an ad hoc committee meeting today, short-term vacation rental ordinance, where we received proposed new codes. Karen, I know we're putting this up on the RPA website, but is there a possibility that you could send that to the entire council so that they would review that? Because we will bring this proposal to the entire council on November the 15th in our strategic planning session. And I would encourage you all to be in attendance for that so that you can see the proposed changes and how they could possibly affect your district. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilman Henderson. Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Councilman Smith. We had a planning and zoning committee meeting today, along with many other meetings today, and talked over all the items that are going to start appearing on our agenda next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Smith.
No report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Hester.
We did meet today. We're going to meet again in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Coonrod. Councilwoman Knoll. Dr. Vers. Thank you very much. Councilman Henderson, I see your light again, sir.
And it may be worth mentioning to the audience here this afternoon that our meeting next week, you've got that on
I've
there?
got it next. Yes, sir.
I think it's at 4:00. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Our council meeting, our business meeting, the one you're in right now, will be next week at 4 p.m. That's election day. And our agenda session will be at 2:30 in this room. So please make a note of that, as I'm sure some of you will want to be here for next week. We are now at the point where persons wishing to address council are welcome to do so. And I'm anticipating there are one or two. So if you would start making your way to the podium. And while you do that, I will ask the city attorney to read our rules. And you'll start doing that now, Mr. Attorney. We can get
Yes,
through
sir.
that portion.
So at the end of every council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council, and here's your rules. Each speaker recognized at the microphone up front for that purpose. You can't have more than 3 minutes to speak, and you can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority, and not on matters that are not under their authority or are regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Don't use any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. Address your comments to the council as a whole and not make comments directed towards individual council members. Do it only one time a day, and do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law. And someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated those rules, please go ahead, Ms. Mott.
Thank you. Marie Mott, District 8. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Alvin Toffler. I'm here for two particular comments, one towards the community and one towards leadership. One, as a community, this idea of not in my backyard is not one of Christ, is not one of kindness, and is not one that I believe, as a daughter of a pastor, is one of faith. We must be comfortable with the stranger. We must become comfortable with those of lower socioeconomic status and embrace those, especially that are coming into our community who are trying to move forward with their lives and get a hand up, not a handout. The second is when I tagged Joda Tombak-Nua last year in multiple posts on Instagram about permanent supportive housing, the reason I did so is because I had already built a relationship not only with a developer, but with 4 architects who wanted to come together in collaboration to actually work together with the city if they were willing to be able to do an affordable housing project with social services, which is the basic definition, which the mayor should know if he's going to do a public speaking engagement. He should know the basic definition of what permanent supportive housing is. And I want to just say it doesn't look good on his team that you are putting the leader of our city out there and he's not properly prepped. But the community, I agree in the sense that they should be able to have the basic questions answered for them. And prior to, the thing that leadership in this room needs to unlearn, you need to stop making decisions before you talk to the community. That has to stop. You need to go to the community and make sure that they understand what you're getting ready to do. They understand what the cost assessment or cost savings is going to be, that you see who's in opposition to see how you can win them over, that you give them proper information of what to expect along the way. That is leadership. It is not making a decision behind closed doors, going to the community and basically the get down or lay down approach, which is the Chattanooga way. Please, if you unlearn anything in this administration, it needs to be just that. Please do things in collaboration with the community. And what you will often find is that there are brilliant people, connected people in your community that have the relationships with people you can bring in to make this project and other projects that we need necessary like this in the future to be so successful. And despite what you all think of me, I am a strategist by nature. That is my strength. Strategy is better than a plan because it is how do we get from A to B and win. And that's really what I want to see people do in my city. I want to see us win. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mott.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Angela Favaloro, District 5. I came to speak also on the proposed agenda for next week for the property at 7725 Lee Highway. I attended the mayor's session this last week and was really blown away at the disconnect of a lot of our public and what our unhoused processes and just how people live are. There was a lot of conversation about that's great to do this for the homeless population, but not near my kids, not near my backyard, this and that. And so there was just a lot of confusion, I think, about whether this was a shelter, whether this was attracting people. But I think first and foremost, folks would probably agree that we all deserve to live with dignity and walk about freely in our community, regardless of whether we've been housed or unhoused. I personally hope that in your meetings, in your committees, I urge you to move forward with the rezoning efforts. These 70 permanent housing places will do a lot of good for our community. I would hope that the Silverdale community might come to arms and possibly use the strength of their congregation and their funds and possibly look toward expanding those efforts. They could make a great big of difference in our community. And I think they would make a great partner once they realize that this permanent housing is no larger threat than the gas station and the freeway right across, in which their school security and everything else is already prepared to handle any risk or danger that's already over there. And I feel that their kids are probably quite secure. I, of course, don't have children in there. I have children in the inner city. And it's a little, I feel quite confident with my kids where we are too. And that's regardless of whether they're housed or unhoused folks. I appreciate all the people that take care of our kids every day at all of the schools, public or private, in our community. And I hope that we move forward with the efforts and make sure that we have room at the end for the people that are going to be there. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Evangeline Ruth Smith. I go to CSLA and I am in 4th grade. Imagine one day you lose something, everything, meaning no money, no food, no home, no one speaking up for you. I want to tell you about my experience with the houseless people in Chattanooga. If you think they are going to hurt children like me, you are mistaken. They are the nicest people I have ever met in this world. For those against the housing, I ask that you have a change of heart. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I'm still active.
You have the floor, sir.
I just want to, tell me your name again. I couldn't catch it.
Evangeline Ruth Smith.
Okay.
District 4.
You did a great job tonight, and I appreciate you coming out and addressing this council. Thank you.
I'm not sure I can follow that, but I'm going to try. Evangeline's beautiful, and her and her mom used to volunteer at a nonprofit. I'm the director of Welcome Home. We provide shelter for individuals who have a terminal illness or who need cancer treatment and have nowhere to go for care. We started our cancer respite program after we recognized, after years of caring for people who were terminally ill, many were dying of cancer because they couldn't get treatment because they didn't have a roof over their head. There's some treatment that you can't get. It's just too dangerous if you're living outdoors. So we felt like we should meet that need. We started our cancer respite program last year, and now we have our own little cancer respite home on a community that we're building in East Chattanooga in District 5. And with that, the individuals we're serving, we start working on finding permanent supportive housing for them right away. As soon as they come in, they start getting treatment so they don't die of breast cancer at the age of 45 just because they're homeless. And then we start looking for the permanent supportive housing for them. That's been incredibly difficult. It's just been so hard. So we have kind of a backlog at Welcome Home where we have 11 people or more on our waiting list, but they can't get in because we're having trouble finding housing for the people that we're serving now. One of the things that I try and encourage people to consider is not to think of a us and them world. It's all of us. We're all together in this. We're all brothers and sisters. And all of us, even though we're very diverse, we still all have the same needs. We all want to be happy. We want to be free of suffering. And I think at the end of life or when we're really sick, we want to know that someone cares and someone loves us. So I just wanted to bring that to you, that we see a great need over in East Chattanooga, and hope that you'll vote to approve this. Thank you.
Would you give us, Sherry, would you give us your name I know your name. Would you give us the name for the record tonight, please?
Yes, my apologies. Sherry Campbell.
Thank you, Sherry.
Good evening.
I'm sorry, can you hang on one
Okay,
second?
yes.
I got
The
a
timers,
light.
okay.
Yeah, we'll reset it for you,
Okay,
I
thank you.
promise. I have a light from Councilman Hester.
I just want to say thank you, Ms. Campbell, for Welcome Home and all that you do there. Your love, your passion, your admiration, your dedication to the underserved. Thank you for your good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman. If we can get 3 minutes back up, please. My apologies,
That's okay.
please.
Good evening. My name is Jana Heron. I am the Science Department Head at Silverdale Baptist Academy. At the community meeting last Wednesday evening, I mentioned the endangered species in Friar Branch, which runs through the property owned by the city and the county together, behind the airport and on Lee Highway. I realized that maybe the city didn't know the land purchase had a stream on it. I realized the city didn't know that an endangered species was in Friar Branch, but now that you are aware, I think an environmental impact study is warranted, not just for the sake of the Chickamauga crayfish, but for the other endangered species that are in our area. The information for planning and consultation of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service indicates the following statuses for the area, including the airport inn. The gray bat and Indiana bat are both endangered. The northern long-eared bat is threatened. The tricolored bat is proposed endangered. There are 3 species of flowering plants that are listed as threatened. Additionally, we're in the migratory area for the monarch butterfly, which entered endangered status in July of this year, according to the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. And monarchs are also threatened by habitat destruction. There is also legitimate concern for runoff and thus sediment into Friar Branch. The topography maps indicate a 20-foot slope toward the branch across from Lee Highway, and the airport inn is within 60 feet of Friar Branch at its nearest point. We are in an active state of conservation of the endangered Chickamauga crayfish downstream from your property. Additionally, we did our due diligence to preserve and make better what we have by contacting an environmental consultant for our most recent campus expansion. The outdoor ed team at Silverdale educate the students and the faculty about environmental stewardship and the importance of habitat conservation. We have partnered with Stream Team, Waterways, and UTC researchers for continuous sampling to ensure that the stream is healthy for wildlife on our campus and downstream to the Chickamauga Creek and also the Tennessee River. So we are doing our part. I'm asking that you do yours for the community and for the preservation of the environment surrounding all of our properties. We've spent a lot of time and resources on obtaining sustainable habitats. I would ask that you be considerate of those downstream. You have one moment in time to do this the right way. And because your property backs up to designated exceptional Tennessee waters, it's worth it to take a pause, take the opportunity to be good stewards, because once an endangered species is gone, it's not coming back. Everything that I have mentioned is already threatened due to the illegal encampment that's currently on your property. Because of this activity, I have begun the process of water quality monitoring more closely. Please suspend the project on Lee Highway and do your due diligence first to seek the environmental impact study. I've spoken with representatives of the TWRA and TDEC, and what I'm asking of you is not unreasonable. It's environmentally responsible.
Evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, council members. My name is Dennis Tumlin. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Silverdale Baptist Academy. I'm a father of a student out there, but I'm also speaking on behalf of 60 single-family residences that lie just across Friar Branch from your facility. You talked earlier tonight about the disengaged may not be here tonight. I want to call attention to those guys, but earlier in the first session, I want to commend you. I heard some wisdom in the room. There, over and over, I heard several of you, at least 4 council members said, I need more information. I need more information. I need time to process, and I need more information. As a public servant myself, I serve in a different capacity than you guys do. I help communities all across the state and actually other states as well solve complex problems. And I have learned over and over and over, when I feel rushed, I make a bad decision. I'll encourage you to hit the pause button and to think through this one. It's a little more complex. I'm speaking from experience there. When I get into these communities, a stakeholder meeting is critical. I do engage both sides of the conversation. I heard you guys in the earlier meeting talk about all parties represented. I need more than just the academy, just the church. You're exactly right. That's exactly what I do when I go into a community and lead a stakeholder meeting. I get everyone involved, including those 60 single-family residents lying just across Friar Branch that's probably not represented here tonight. That's why I bring them up. Couple of things. I'm also a part-time real estate developer. I have been for 25 years. I mentioned the other night about highest and best use. You guys sit right on the side of I-75. It's the gateway to Chattanooga, the gateway to Tennessee. It is a mecca for opportunity on the side of a very busy interstate. I'm not sure that we're looking at the highest and best use for the property. And I bring that up. An example of that, if you guys had been on the Planning Commission many years ago, I'm confident no one on this board would have voted to approve a chicken plant 2 blocks away from the Chattanooga Choo Choo. Many years later, we're dealing with the repercussion. You guys are dealing with the repercussion of this chicken plant. and had those members had a chance to call that back and have more time and study and bring more stakeholders together, I'm confident we all would have agreed that we need chicken and we need food. But I think we would have found a proper place for chicken. We need housing. I'm a real estate developer. We need housing. But slow down and let's do this thing right. You mentioned the last meeting, you got one chance to do it right, and you do. I'm going to go real quick. I'm going to jump down to exit 1. When I was a kid, exit 1 was an albatross for the gateway to Chattanooga. It was an albatross for the gateway of Tennessee. Smart people came together, thought about exit 1. How do we convert it? We landed Bass Pro Shop and all the things that's happened in the last 20 years. It's a sales tax generator. This exit can do the same thing with proper planning. And I'm going to ask you next meeting, table the motion, table the planning, table it all, take your time. Let's do it right. You got one chance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to allow us to speak to you all today. I too am a parent of Silverdale Baptist Academy, and I have a small statement to make. But before I do so, I would like to say that I applaud your comments at the beginning when you spoke to our council regarding information. You're going to hear this echoed probably with anyone from Silverdale Baptist Academy that speaks to you tonight. There is not a single family at our school that is opposed to helping the homeless people in our community. We can produce lists of organizations where we donate our time and our funds to help the underprivileged people in our community. According to Chattanooga.gov, zoning shapes the city of Chattanooga. The form-based code or downtown code zoning codes and standards were developed to promote urban development form that aligns with the vision and policies set forth by the downtown Martin Luther King Southside and North Shore plans. These plans define a vision for growth that is urban, mixed-use, walkable, neighborhood-friendly, and contributes to a high-quality public realm. Chattanooga's suburban zoning districts provide very limited options for urban development. This is not that. According to the zoning code, in regards to spaces with the designation UGC for urban general commercial zones, specifically in section 38-201 titled Intent, the code reads, "It is the intent of the urban general commercial zone to promote traditional urban development with multi-story buildings built close to the sidewalk and a mix of uses within each site and within individual buildings." It goes on to say such urban places are intended to provide a concentration of goods and services that attract commerce, all within a walkable environment. Additionally, the code states in section 38-211 titled Additional Requirements that highway-style guardrails, chain link, and other security fencing shall not be visible from the public right-of-way. According to the Chattanooga Regional Planning Agency, urban development patterns are more walkable, can be more easily serviced by transit, offer proximity to a variety of uses and activities such as shopping, dining, and recreation, and provide a greater variety of buildings and housing choices within an immediate neighborhood. Suburban development patterns focus on driving convenience and residential privacy and seclusion with limited road connectivity, thus requiring more driving to meet daily needs. At the end of the day, if the infrastructure is not in place, this project will not be successful, and you will be putting Chattanooga's most vulnerable community at a disadvantage.
Ma'am, can you give me your name, please? Haley? Thank you. We're making very good notes here. What district are you in? 4. Thank you. Yeah, if you would, your name and your district, because we're compile these into notes for council.
Good evening. I'm Ivan Brown. Thank you, Chairman. The Bonnie Oaks Lee Highway District. I apologize for not knowing. 6. Okay. All right. I won't need 3 minutes. I'll make it very brief. I'm Ivan Brown, executive pastor at Numa Church, who's also a representative of that same community where that project is being discussed. We would like to, we like to be kept abreast of more information as you guys continue to discovery. But should the city and the council decide to move forward, we are on board with it. We will support it, and we're honored to partner with the city if there's any needs of economic empowerment, classes, financial literacy, anything like that. So if the city does decide to go forth with it, we will support it and be on board with it.
Good evening, council. My name is Rachel Campbell, and I live in District 3. Mr. Smith, you are my councilman. I pay city taxes, and I hope that my wishes on this matter weigh at least as much as those of the people in this room who don't. I rise to speak tonight in support of this initiative to provide housing and support for members of our local homeless community. The homeless population has risen greatly in the last couple of years, driven by the pandemic and the economy, among many other things. And we know that the only way to end the homelessness of a person or a family is to provide those people a permanent home. This administration's plan is a solid start while also cleaning up an area that has been a problem. The city has been very clear that they will be screening applicants and that no violent felons or registered sex offenders will be allowed to lease apartments there. The same cannot be said of a motel. This program would provide unhoused people who need help with the full support and services they need to move forward into their own permanent housing as fully invested citizens of our city. However, members of the nearby community, including a local church and academy, seek to oppose this opportunity and gathered at a community meeting just last Wednesday to ask questions and make comments. I was there. In listening, however, it became clear to me that they hope to oppose based on some of their own beliefs, that homeless people are other and different and are only worthy of support and help when it isn't in their own backyard or near their own baseball field. One woman noted, "They're not like us," as the reason why she opposed the development, while another stated that most homeless people are drug addicts, which is statistically incorrect. And while some people were there to ask reasonable questions and receive answers, the general consensus was opposition based solely on their own prejudices, misunderstandings, and inexperience with people in circumstances different than their own. Rather than seek to partner with the city and reach out a helping hand to people who need help, not judgment, they choose to do the opposite. It is not lost on us that they sometimes do so from the pew and the pulpit, despite the fact that the Bible and Christ teach that it is imperative that we help the poor and needy among us. The Bible states in 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 8, "He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with princes and have them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundations of the earth are the Lord's, on them he has set the world." My childhood pastor would take this podium from me right now and remind all of us what that truly means. He would say, "Great, Mayor Kelly, the church will purchase the other motels next door and replicate this initiative." And that is what I believe Christ would have us do, is it not? To serve the stranger among us, help the helpless, give to the needy and poor. Did we forget those teachings along the way when it's in our own backyard? Christ can be found wherever you seek him, but I'm not sure he's represented in the discussion on this issue. Council, I implore you to approve this rezoning and this initiative. It is good, it is right, it will change lives. It may be a small step, but everything good starts there.
Good evening, Council. I'm Bill Rush. I'm the CEO of Metropolitan Ministries. I do not live in any of your districts, but I'm a Hamilton County resident, and I want to speak on behalf of all of those who are not here to be able to speak for themselves. Every day, we receive over 300 calls for help at Metropolitan Ministries. Every day, someone is trying to keep from being evicted from their home. And there is only so much that men can do to try to bridge the gap between being homeless and staying in the home that they have thought that they were going to be able to be in for the remainder of their lives. The growing population, I don't need to cite statistics, but what I would like to tell you is, if you do not take advantage of every opportunity that arises to address this issue, it's not going to be just in your backyard. It's going to be in your front yard. It's going to be everywhere because it's growing leaps and bounds faster than we can respond. We can't raise enough money, but we can't turn a blind eye to an opportunity. I sat with someone. I kept thinking of what would I say to try to help you to understand. But as I sat with a gentleman today before I came down here, who shared with me that he cannot begin, he wants to change his life. He wants stability. He wants to be independent, but he's on the streets. And for every job that he does secure, he loses because he doesn't know where he's going to be from one night to the next, or where he's going to get to take a shower, or where he's going to store his stuff. And I spent 36 years with the Y, but I knew God was directing me to go deeper in my life and at the end of my life of career in public service, but I never had any idea that he was going to ask me to be a voice for those who can't be a lot of times a voice for themselves. And so they don't feel welcomed and a lot of times, and we're trying to provide them an opportunity. And I'm gonna finish with a short story, I hope. A mom and her husband were expecting a child. The joy of that child's birth, when they had to be rushed, flown to Chattanooga, lost their jobs, lost their home in order to be here in Chattanooga at Children's for the birth of their child. They were fortunate to get to stay at the Ronald McDonald House. But at the end, when the child had been born, had started to recover and gain weight, they had no place to go and they could not be dismissed from the hospital. So they came to MetMen. Someone asked them to. We sat down with them and worked out a plan. But let me tell you, housing is not there for a lot of folks. Fortunately for them, we were able to help them navigate finding it instead of going to a motel. But for the majority, these hotels or these opportunities are just a beginning step. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Smith. I'm in District 3. I'm the Executive Director of the Chattanooga Regional Homeless Coalition. We are the community and the federal government's designated continuing care lead agency. We work as a mediator between the federal government and state partners and now some city partners and projects that exist in our community with the goal of ending homelessness. As I've shared before here, and several members of the audience know, I also am a person of lived experience of homelessness. And so my name, Mike Smith's great because it's so bland. I even use a hat as a gimmick. I'm the Mike Smith with a hat. But I'm here tonight also to speak about, or to speak for those who can't be here. My brothers and sisters who died on the street beside me. I am the least of them. They should have been here. I'm the worst one to ever be here. But somehow grace saved me. When we look at homelessness in Chattanooga, I can talk statistics a little bit that we're at historic and unprecedented levels of the increase of homelessness. And I'm sad to say we haven't seen it all yet. There are more coming. The data shows that by 2035, we will see that 50% of the homeless population are elderly. They will die on the streets. They cannot afford to live in housing. The Chattanooga Regional Homeless Coalition exists as the lead agency for the homeless response. We have to be proactive. But in times like these are unprecedented times. All out, declare war on the fact that unhousing can exist in our community. We must step forward with our best foot and all feet to address this issue. And I know that I was in Seattle last week presenting some of the great work being done here in Chattanooga to a national level. They're learning from some of the things that we're doing. They're learning a lot on how to save lives. And I hate that I missed what turned out to be a great party last week in a public hearing. But I'm here today. I mean, we can move forward together, all of us, all Chattanoogans invested in this. And again, I want to reiterate that I'm the worst of anyone to be up here. Homelessness will rise continuously unless we take dramatic efforts, both in response and proactive. I was asked today to pull data for where permanent supportive housing exists in the community. It currently exists in every single one of your districts. It's called scattered site.
I'm Mackenzie Kelly. I'm a data analyst for the Chattanooga Regional Homeless Coalition. I am in District 8. I will be really brief in saying that it is a privilege to stand up here and say that we need to push this project down the road. We need to wait. We need to gather more information about it. This is a matter of life or death of people, human beings, and it is time that we start using our privilege to make a positive impact in the life of those that don't have that same privilege.
Hello, I'm Erica Ballard. I actually have a residence in Jenny Hills District. I am a parent of a couple children at Silverdale, but we've also attended the church since 2001. And I was at the meeting last week, and what I would like to say is a lot of the parents have felt like they have not had the information shared with them. So when there's no information shared, it causes stress and concern. And things that were said at the meeting weren't necessarily from everybody. Those were not the opinions of everybody at the meeting. But what I would like to say is the church from the very beginning and the school from the very beginning, from what I understand, was spoken with and that wanted to partner and have come together with this project on this project. Because yes, we have service projects where the children go down and to the food bank and help at the mission. And but what we were led to believe is that we would be part of the people who would help figure out who would be placed there as a community and a coming together. And there was disconnect in the project that whenever the people who led the meeting, along with Mayor Kelly last week, was Step Up, was not a local community project. And when we have local community tried and true projects that really have helped the community and know the community and work with the good people here that could potentially, work with the church and the school, because I guarantee you, as a parent and a church member that goes there, if this was a community for Bethel Bible or a room at the inn, we would be there with toys and stocking those rooms and being over. My now he's fifth grader, would be over there, helping playing with the children, because that is the church and community that we are. But what the city's lack of communication has left people with fear. And this project from out of the city has left us feeling like we don't have a voice, which from the very beginning, from what I understand, because I was not a very beginning part of those conversations, that the city came to the church and the school, said that we would be from the very beginning, hand in hand, deciding in the RFP who we would be partnering with. And they were super excited because that is our church and that is our community. We would be super excited to help these people get a step up. And the project that you guys are the step up is looking at keeping people there permanently instead of giving a hand up.
Good evening, Council. My name is Taylor Hasty. I am an Academy employee as well as a parent. And I just wanted to take a minute to share a little bit about my own heart and also the heart of our Academy. Scripture speaks to the fact that every single one of us is created in God's image. Genesis 1 says it very clearly that God created us in his image. And we believe that from the very beginning of life until the end, whenever that may be, that every single one of us, regardless of circumstance, regardless of where you're from, what you have done in your life, whether you haven't done anything yet because you're a toddler, we believe in that every single person matters and needs to be cared for. And from the inception of our Academy, over 24 years ago, we have worked hard to be in our community, to partner together with those of all walks of life, to seek their good whenever possible. And of course, being an Academy, our priority is the children, is the students. And so when we seek to grow partnerships with our community, when we seek to serve those around us, we do often think of our students first, because that is who we are as an Academy. And so we seek, even in partnership with our community, to serve our students as well as those around us who may be in need. We do not think that is mutually exclusive at all. We think we can do that well and do it together. And so as this project unfolded, it is more about us seeking more information, wanting to see what the city is really doing in our area, how they are going to be working on behalf of some of those who are challenged and who are the most needy in our community. And at the same time, think about our students and to think about the things that are priorities for us, because as an academy, our organization is called to the children who are also a needy community, who need us and need all of us to care for them as well. So for us, I am so thankful to be at a place that sees God's hand on each and every person who walks on the face of the earth, and that we can seek to be for all people. Yes, for the children, but also for everyone else who is in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a senior pastor of our Newman Christian Center. My son-in-law just spoke ahead of me. I'm very uncomfortable in these kind of environments. It's amazing how I speak on TV in front of thousands of people and give me a Bible. I'm very comfortable. But this is my first time addressing something of this nature. And namely because about 3 o'clock this morning, the Lord dealt with me pretty seriously about this. And began to pull at my heartstrings, and I began to write some things down I want to share with you. And the most common stereotype of the chronically homeless is people that are drug and alcoholic, addicted, and the mentally ill, making them potentially violent and public nuisance and unsafe to be around. They're considered desperate and many times dangerous. However, there are other dynamics, but not every homeless person should be characterized as such. There are the dynamics such as lack of housing. Of course, many of you are aware of this. The low income for low income earning people that low income earning people can afford. Relationship failures that displaces one spouse or the other and puts them in an awkward situation where they're temporarily looking for housing. And then thirdly, of course, the impact of racial disparities. The state of being unhoused, unsheltered, uncovered, completely exposed to the harshness of elements, as well as the sometimes foul treatment from the general public. And they're dealing with the emotional stress of the stigma, public disgrace that comes from homelessness, leaving them hopeless, with no purpose, unstable, with no direction for their lives. Yes, we should be compassionate and sensitive. It's the very attributes of God. And yes, we should hold them accountable. And yes, there should be guidelines in place to enforce. And no, we shouldn't be naive or even gullible, subjecting ourselves to manipulation or even exploitation. The reason why I'm so moved is because I just spoke with a man who was a former mayor in a major city, who's had a relationship failure. He's homeless. He was once a millionaire. He owned properties. He's staying in a Days Inn, whatever you call those things. I'm speaking to him now, encouraging him to get back on his feet. There are very skilled people who's fallen in life and fallen on hard times, and they should not be characterized as a threat to our community. And we need to stay compassionate and sensitive to all people. That's all I want to say to you tonight.
Hello, my name is Tom Purdy, and I live comfortably and safely interspersed with the homeless and poorly housed on William Street in the South Side. I'm in Rakita Dotley's district. I've seen this conversation take place and these situations take place in Santa Monica, California, Boise, Idaho, Eastern Connecticut, and now in Chattanooga. Seemingly, no one wants the homeless anywhere near their houses, schools, hospitals, or grocery stores. People don't want the homeless in their parks or in their public restrooms. In Boise, they want to locate a homeless transition center in a rundown building on a major 6-lane thoroughfare. The residents object. In Connecticut, they want to locate a homeless transition house in an abandoned building that appeals to no one. The residents object. Here we are in Chattanooga talking about building a transition center in a shut-down motel off a busy street. The residents object. Exactly where is the perfect spot for the homeless? If not in an abandoned hotel, where?
Good evening, Council. I spoke before some of you this afternoon, and I'm not here to repeat much of that. I want to second some of what's already been said. It is true that those of us who in the city operate permanent supportive housing programs struggle mightily to find scattered site units to house our clients, to house the people we are trying to get off the streets and out of the shelters. It is also true that a superb program such as Welcome Home Chattanooga would have the same difficulty simply trying to move people through its program so that others could then be served. The biggest issue for me in this, I am a service provider in this city. I'm with a local organization. I'm also a citizen and a resident of District 6. The biggest issue for me is that this chance will not come around anytime soon again. There are cities across the country who need precisely this kind of intervention, and they don't have it because of the issues that have been raised here, because there isn't the right property at the right price point. But we have it. We have it. If this council will approve the zoning measure, if we will be able to move forward, we'll have 70 units that will help people like me and my colleagues do more to get people off the street, out of the hospitals, out of the camps, and into permanent housing for the long term. Thanks.
My name's Katie Keel. I'm a resident of District 9. I'm lucky enough to be a homeowner not too far from Ridgeside, which is one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in all of Chattanooga. I live in the city of Chattanooga. I would just like to say that if you are looking at people who are living in tents on the street or hanging around on the street without a tent, even worse, running around with a bike and every worldly possession they have on their back, maybe a dog, and you look at that person and you say, I don't want them near me. I don't want, I don't know enough about them and their situation to want them near me. Considering that a huge percentage of the people in this country live paycheck to paycheck, that's a failure to look at that person and say, there, but for the grace of God, go I. And if you think that you won't end up like them or that you can't possibly end up like them, you can tomorrow. All it takes is 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 things of bad luck to happen to you. It's not hard. I have people in my family who have been to felony prison for running meth labs. And the only reason that they are not homeless is because they had family members who are willing to take them in. Some people don't have that. Some people aren't that lucky. So if it's a problem of looking at someone and saying, I feel like they are different from me and that they can't be around me because of that, then you're wrong. They're just like you. They just got unlucky. Thanks.
Good evening to everyone, especially the council. My name is Vincent Spann, and I am the founder of Connecting Veterans to Resources. My nonprofit is located in Eastlake. I'm a man of very few words, and this is going to be real quick. Show of hands, how many of you have an address? Everybody? Everybody that have an address, raise your hand. Everybody that don't have an address, raise your hand. How many of you are willing to leave your home and go on the streets and get yourselves in a situation where you do not have an address? Show of hands. None of you. Let's do the right thing. Let's make this happen.
Hello, I didn't prepare a statement for this evening, but I would like to share a few things that, first of all, coming together, if we're all on the same page, I think there are a
Can
few
you tell
things.
me your name?
Sure, it's
Thank-
Sissy Fickelstaller. Sissy Fickelstaller. I'd like to know Ellis.
and
So
District,
I am not in the district,
Not-
but I have 4 children who attend school in Chattanooga.
understood.
So there were a few things I want to make clear. I think if we all look for common ground, we can agree there is a homeless problem. The problem needs to be met. We're all humankind and everyone is deserving. And I don't think anyone here would disagree with that. However, I think we need to look at what are the hidden agendas. Is it really to take care of the homeless people, or is it to get them out of downtown because they're an eyesore? Is it because we're going to shove them off somewhere else and we're going to bus them to where they're not a problem for downtown business owners anymore? I think that's a question you need to ask yourself. We're going to put them in a place where they have no transportation. They can't walk to the hospital. They can't walk to a pharmacy or a grocery store, but there is a liquor store next door.
Not anymore.
There's underlying, I think you guys need to investigate that too, on why the person did not receive the permit. There are a few underlying things that need to be investigated, and that's why I'm asking that you all would take consideration in tabling this and get to the root of it. When we ask the mayor and his staff, we ask about transportation. How will these people get around? And you know what the response was? Oh, they can go to an app on their phone and they can get a ride anywhere. How many homeless people have a phone? Where are the logistics? Excuse me, I have time right now. This is my time on the floor. Stand in line if you'd like to talk.
Hey,
So,
hold on. This is her time.
excuse me,
This is her
I need to get another 5 seconds for the disruption. So I think there are a few things we're not getting answers to, and the story keeps changing. In the beginning, the mayor had said, we'll have social workers, we'll have people working with these people. When we raised the question of security, they said, we'll have security there 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. When people in the community said, what about during school hours? Oh, well, we'll have security 24/7. The story keeps changing and there is not consistency. Why? Because there is no infrastructure in place. They're not doing their due diligence either it seems as though Step Ahead already has the contract and they're not looking at other entities. I think there are a few things that you all need to consider before you place this vote. You have time, you have the ability.
No, please don't
She may
interrupt.
need to be removed.
Ma'am, ma'am, we
She's
don't-
interrupting me.
I know, we don't do that here.
Well,
Let's
please,
everybody,
but we also don't interrupt.
we don't do that here. We're not going to do that. You'll have your time, I promise. Everyone, please give her the respect and let her finish.
If the real concern is for the homeless, why are they being placed where they are away from everyone and they don't have transportation? They don't even have hospital services nearby. Just something to think about.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address council this evening? Please come.
My name is Chris Walberger, and I'm not in the district.
Oh, hey, Chris, you emailed me earlier. Come on up. Yeah.
So.
No, hang on. We'll get you your time on the clock, sir.
This is not about helping the homeless to Silverdale people. We would love to be a part of that. Then we've been part of several programs to that point. This is about the location for us and the combination of key attributes of that area and the scenario that creates. Now I'm going to be very brief, but my thought process is if you really want this to be successful, there's got to be a better location that's more conducive to the environment that these people would thrive in. And that's not it. When I say these people, I'm talking about the homeless community. And I'm not trying to be offensive. What I'm saying is this community, through unfortunate circumstances, none of them have a certain set of circumstances that all of them have aspired to or been forced upon them. There are folks who struggle every day to improve their lifestyle, right? And by the information that's been given to us in the mayor's meeting that very much characterizes the target audience that they're trying to recruit to the environment. They told us, right, most of them have a mental illness. They did say that we won't have seriously violent was what they put on the screen, criminal tendencies. How do you define what that looks like when you just label it with violent, right? They talked about drug abuse. There's all kinds of literature out there, whether or not they struggle with that. Surely not all homeless do. But at the end of the day, you put that in an environment that has a surrounding area that would allow them to lapse back into the lifestyle they're trying to evade, and that creates a problem. Now, here's the problem. Not all of them are going to be are going to wind up being in a situation where an adverse issue or event happens. But when you get near children, and that's what we're passionate about here, right? It's the location that bothers us, at least me. And I don't want to speak for all Silverdale folks. I'm speaking for me. The folks that the most vulnerable of our society, right? All you need is one bad event. One. And I'm going to respond to something somebody said. Every single school that's ever had a tragedy, every single one thought they were safe right until the moment they had the tragedy, right? I'm not saying it was homeless people. What I'm saying is we're putting folks that they have said they're targeting to recruit, those type of characteristics, in an environment where if they lapse back into old habits and are prone to making bad decisions, all it takes is one bad decision that you can't walk back. All right. Now, you may choose to move forward with this, but I ask you, I'll leave you with this. What if you do and you're wrong? I'll leave that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address council this evening? Council, I will say, Steve, are you coming? All right. I think we have a motion to adjourn. Thank you.